I want to pick the brain of a legendary former receiver. Do the Miami Hurricanes have enough weapons surrounding Cam Ward for 2024?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Alex Donno. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're available free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, join today. You'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. It is a Truth Teller Tuesday. We got the man with us, Bruce Warner, and I know you bring company today, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, and this is a hot topic, so we got somebody that can talk about this hot topic, my friend, longtime friend, Lamar Thomas.
There he is. I almost broke my whole studio bringing him on. Lamar Thomas, two-time national champion at Miami, Sports Hall of Famer. He's also a former Miami Dolphin. So Lamar is double awesome in my book because I'm a Dolphin and a Canes fan. Lamar, how you doing, sir?
I'm great. And, obviously, Bruce, this is daddy daycare transportation type time.
Yeah.
I had my pickups and drop-offs. And if you hear any bluey in the background or you hear some trucks going off, it's my 18-month-old son, Jackson, who is probably named after Lamar Jackson, by the way. But that's what it is.
Probably. Like, you don't know for sure.
Well, that's my story, okay? We also have a daughter named Parker, and, of course, I say Devontae Parker. My wife says different.
That is hilarious. And listen, Lamar, when it comes to, Miami's weapons, wide receivers, we could talk about the tight end usage as well because, Miami, they just brought in a Lamborghini at quarterback. Like, they bring in the most sought-after guy in the transfer portal in Cam Ward. Miami does return at wide receiver. Xavier Restrepo, who had over 1,000 yards last year, was top 20 in the country in yardage. Jacolby George had a productive season, scored a lot of touchdowns last year. They bring back guys like Isaiah Horton, Ray Joseph, Robbie Washington, Shamar Kirk. You got JoJo Trader, who's crushing the offseason workouts coming in as a freshman, Nykar, Chance Robinson. A lot of these guys are unproven, obviously, outside of X and George. So your take, Lamar Thomas, on the current quarterback or the current wide receiver room at Miami, and do you think they have enough there?
Let me just throw this in, LT, because the talk really has not been about the receivers. It's mostly been about, do we have a deep threat? Do we need a deep threat? And why haven't we gotten one? Because we're now in February already, and the season starts in the next couple of weeks. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, I can tell you this, that, I do believe Mario and Stephen Field and the rest of that coaching staff and recruiting staff are doing their due diligence to try to find that guy. It's important. Last year we had number 4. He was our outside guy. You need a guy like that because it opens up things for the Restrepos. And, you can't leave a guy like that single covered because, he can go up and make 50-50 plays and score touchdowns. So you have to defenses have to, if they're smart, they kind of have to shift their focus to a guy like that. For me, back in the day, and, Bruce, I have to go back in the day. It's what I know.
Go ahead.
There's a Horace Copeland.
Right.
A guy like that opened it up for guys like myself and Darrell Spencer. We had Horace Copeland and Kevin Williams. Those guys could take the top off things, and they were good enough that you had to shift your defense. And once you did that, it opened up things for Coleman Bell and Stephen McGuire. You need a guy like that. Now, you find a guy like that, somebody that can get down the field and make a defensive coordinator say, we have to respect this guy. Now it opens up things for the Restrepos. You find a tight end to come about. The other kid, George, he had a great year last year, but I don't really consider him that main outside guy yet. I think personally for him, he needs to, and I've even told Kevin Beard that who's doing an outstanding job, by the way. You gotta make sure this kid understands how important he is. You can't make dumb mistakes. And I mean not just on the field but off the field.
Right.
They correlate. I've always believed if a guy's doing what he's supposed to do off the field and trying to be the best person that he can be, then that will help him be a better football player also. They go hand in hand. So, he's a guy that's made some plays for us last year. Hold on, let me plug in my laptop. He's made some plays for us last year, but I still believe you need that big presence or really, really fast guy that can push the top off the defense and make you respect him.
Yeah, but Jacolby Colby Young left. I think they might have been surprised by that. I don't really know what happened, but they didn't replace him. They've got the young kids, as Alex said. People are somewhat banking on if Horton can go deep because he showed some flashes here and there. He could be the guy, and we also believe that you got kids issues. We also believe that maybe we'll go to the portal when it opens up next time, which is around spring, and maybe get somebody. But right now, let's assume that this is all they're going to have. So now you got Cam Ward. What do you do? Now, I want to throw this in with what happened against Georgia Tech. They played that too deep, and they just gave us everything underneath and refused to let anybody beat them deep. And it happened in most of the rest of the games. How do you get past that if you don't have the speed guy?
Well, in cover two, I actually like cover two as far as not having a true speed guy because there are holes in cover two. There are all kind of holes. There's holes up the middle. There's holes down the sideline. And so you don't truly need a true speed guy. You just have to make sure you hit them with the verticals and hit the holes. You got to understand that, when I was with Petrino, these things were taught. I mean, to quarterbacks to understand if you go cover two, you know exactly where the holes are. And that holes are in the middle of the field. If they don't have a Tampa 2 type linebacker making that drop, that there is a big hole down the middle. And if you force them to the safeties to have to play the sideline areas, so you have to call the right plays, and that comes down to it. Knowing cover two is a defense that they're going to use to also try to stop that run. And Miami ran the ball with effect. They were effective last year running the ball, especially when the kid from American Heritage was in there, the big
Fletcher.
Fletcher. Yeah. So you had to bring down, you had to go to a run type defense, but the holes are there in cover two. You just have to, the quarterback has to see it and know exactly what he's doing. Now, it goes back to what you said in the beginning. Was it the quarterback?
Right. Was it the quarterback?
We all know that our quarterback last year went through something. He had been going through it for since his freshman year. After his freshman year, he changed. I don't know what it was, something in his DNA. I don't know. Hell, he was getting enough money. He should have been okay, but whatever. So now we have this different quarterback who's shown that he can do this. And also with a guy like that, when the plays break down, he can run. And today's college football, that's what it's kind of going to. A guy that can, if all else fails and those defensive ends lose their contain, like i.e. we've seen it ourselves, guy can get out the pocket and make a play. And we saw what happens when a quarterback gets out the pocket. It doesn't matter if it's 1 second on the clock or 15 minutes to play, but when a quarterback gets out of the pocket, all bad is going to happen.
Yeah, you know what? And I agree with that. And we talked about that all last year. Van Dyke did not have the ability. I'm not talking about escaping and running. I'm talking about making something out of nothing. Not that we're all Florida State fans, but you better believe that Jordan Travis was great at that. He broke a lot of teams' hearts, ours too, when he was making something out of nothing. And that's what we're expecting Cam Ward to be able to do. Not just run, but to get out of the pocket and make things happen. And I've seen him in films. He throws on all kinds of angles, kind of like Mahomes.
Yeah,
we could be looking at something spectacular this year, but we might not need the big play receiver, but we need everybody to be on the same page, and the backs.
Yeah. Well, and I want to pick Lamar's brain on that when we come back about, because it's, we're talking about receivers making a quarterback better. I'm also hoping Cam Ward can make the receivers better.
Yes.
I also want to talk about how we can get the tight ends more involved from a passing standpoint. So, folks, we have a lot to get to, my friends. We're only getting started. Lamar Thomas, Sports Hall of Famer and two-time national champion at the U, joins us right here on Locked On Canes. Keep it locked. Folks, I know you're keeping it locked to FanDuel. FanDuel is the spot this week, guys. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways to end the season with a W or 2 or 3, because not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, I like the Chiefs, I'll be honest with you, but there's so much other action you can get, my friends, on that game, like which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored. You can bet on the color of the Gatorade that gets dumped on the winning coach. It's usually yellow, by the way. I'm going to bet on yellow. New customers join today. You'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you so much for making this Tuesday episode, Truth Teller Tuesday of Locked On Canes, your first listen and your first watch today. By the way, for the everydayers, you want to take your everydayer experience to the next level? Join our exclusive VIP texting service, Locked On Canes Insiders. I include a link in the show description below. Locked On Canes Insiders, you guys get your questions answered on the show at least once a week. I give you guys breaking news, recruiting scoops, all sorts of show insights. You can try it free for 14 days. Click that link in the show description below to join Locked On Canes Insiders. Free for 2 weeks. Then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value on there at Locked On Canes Insiders. And it's always added value when someone like Lamar Thomas can join us. And so, Lamar, Bruce was just talking rightfully about how Cam Ward can extend plays and make things happen. After all the inconsistencies from Tyler Van Dyke last year and the last couple of years, how much better can a guy like Ward make Miami's offense?
Well, I think he can make us very exciting. I mean, that's what we were expecting out of that kid draws a blank with me, but the kid before that got hurt against the Alabama team,
King.
We were expecting that type of excitement out of him. It does a world for you. You give coordinators nightmares when you have guys like that on the field, because not only are they saying, okay, we got to stop Restrepo, okay, we got to stop the running game, Fletcher, okay, if we find we get the tight end back in the game, we got to stop him. But the most important thing, we got to stop this quarterback from being able to extend plays, make plays, and things like that, because that you can call the perfect defense, but if a guy can get out of it and extend the play and make big plays out of it, it don't matter what defense you call at that point. You can call prevent defense, as we well saw. If a guy gets out of the pocket, prevent defense ain't worth a crap. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is. I'm hoping that he is well worth the money because we can't stop and talk about, you're doing ads for FanDuel, and I'm thinking about money, because guess what? These guys in today's age are getting money. They are getting paid. And I've talked about this for years. I just didn't like or don't like the way all these guys are getting paid, because I'm thinking at this young of age, they can't deal with what the next man's pocket. Think about it. You're a 4-year starter. You finally you earn your right to win the job. After 4 years, you win the job. You look beside you. There's a kid that hadn't played it down that's getting paid way more money than you.
Yeah.
Didn't have to go through what you. Now there's resentment. The quarterback, he's going through some issues, but he's driving away in a brand new Lamborghini or something. They just stole Lamborghini out there. You don't think these guys are a little jealous, saying, man, this guy sucks, He's going through things, and he's getting all this money, and I ain't getting nothing. So it is crazy right now, the how college football, everything that comes along with building a team, but you also have to realize that you might build the best team, but if they can't get along or they're not mature enough, or they're, there's all kind of factors that can go in the team not being as good as we want them. And we invested all this money, and our fans are probably, if we ain't winning, they're upset. Especially if you invested all this money. Where's our championship? That's what they're going to say. So I'm hoping this kid comes to town, jumps right into the leadership role, gets this team behind him, and everything goes well.
I think it will, LT, because look, he's playing to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
He's playing to improve his draft stock. He's also going to help these wide receivers if they get a lot of balls, touchdowns, and so on. There's another thing that this kid can do. If he breaks out of the pocket, now you are a receiver, not a DB, but if he breaks out of there, what happens to the safeties? Are they coming up because they think he's going to run? I've seen this kid throw the ball deep when he's on the run because the safeties stop and he throws over the top. That's another thing we never saw from Van Dyke because he couldn't do it. And I'll throw a name out to you, and this is not a receiver, but he could be. Chris Johnson. This kid's speed is so spectacular that I want to see him in the game. I would love to see him catch balls in the flat or middle screens or whatever, or wheel routes, because he's got a gear that nobody on the team has.
And he's running track too.
That kid is lightning in a bottle. So we have a lot of weapons, even if we don't have the go-to wide receiver. Your thoughts, LP?
Well, a lot of times when you have speed guys, you just want them to be able to be consistent. We had a kid last year, the Tyler Harrell kid.
Yeah.
But just talking to the coaches, he wasn't consistent enough. But you put a guy like that, if he can make one play for you, now it makes a defensive coordinator say, I got to put time into stopping this guy when we see him come in the game. But he wasn't consistent enough. Now, if the young man that you just mentioned, if he becomes consistent, it gives. So all you want to be able to do is give a defensive coordinator a lot to prepare for. You give them a lot to prepare for it. They're not going to do everything. When you're taking time from something else, you can't do everything the best. Kids get confused and things like that happen. So you want to have enough weapons, and hopefully Miami can have enough weapons where, it's not all everybody's singled on Restrepo, double teamed or triple team Restrepo on third down situations. I mean, I can recall when back in the day when we were playing Florida State, Mickey Andrews said, okay, I'm going to take Lamar Thomas away on third downs. I'm going to put T-Buck over him on third downs. We didn't want to throw at T-Buck. He was a game changer. So we went away on third downs. It basically took me out of the game. But that opened up something for Coleman Bell. That opened up the running game for somebody else. So that opened up high C. So it all works together if you have those weapons. And I truly believe adding a good quarterback who is mobile, who can throw at different angles, that gives you that weapon to add with Restrepo, need a tight end, Kobe George, Mark Fletcher, and all the stable of running backs that we had. So it could be a great year. Obviously, with our O-line, our O-line coming together and gelling, it could be a great year. But you're going to need those weapons. We got to find a good tight end.
Yeah, and on that note, so last season the circumstances were weird with tight end because Elijah Arroyo was supposed to be the guy, but he's been dealing with all these injuries. I hope he's healthy now, but he wasn't healthy last year. He played in a few games, but he wasn't healthy. So, Cam McCormick was the primary tight end, but he's mostly a blocker. Exactly. And then Miami, tries to get, and I think this kid's going to be really good, Riley Williams, who blocked well, but, wasn't a consistent receiving threat. So hopefully if the stars align and guys are healthy this year, Lamar, we got to get more out of this tight end position.
Yeah. The tight end position is a quarterback's best friend. That's where, we saw guys in years prior probably weren't that good, but they had a good enough tight end that you can get by. Really good tight end. So I've always said you get a good tight end, he makes everything happen because you're now dealing with a guy that is closer to the quarterback that can really hurt you. And now it just opens up everything for the guys on the outside.
Yeah, and the other thing, which is somewhat hanging over everybody's heads, is Shannon Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
What is he going to do this year? He had some great games against A&M and Boston College, and in some, look, I'm being honest, that's what I'm here. And he had some dumper games against Georgia Tech of all teams, and he didn't really adjust to that too deep. And look, I'm concerned. I don't want to see that ever again. We should be able to annihilate teams, assuming that all these guys are healthy, backs are healthy, the receivers, and everybody's on the same page. Don't forget, this kid is here for the first time. He's had no experience whatsoever with Shannon Dawson and vice versa. But I believe that on paper, we should be able to easily score 35, 40 points a game.
Well, we should. I mean, I really, those games that you talk about in the beginning where Shannon Dawson was on point, I think that they showed us what could be.
Right.
But it also takes not only for Shannon Dawson to be on point, but that quarterback out there to be on point, because you can call the best plays, but if he has a problem going through progressions like we saw, no matter what plays you call, so we got to find some. I believe in Shannon. So with Shannon and a quarterback on the same page that gives you options, I know we should be better. I just don't believe that last year, like the quarterback said, maybe it's too many options. And, it wasn't what he had with, with my guy at SMU.
Lashley.
Yeah, it was a perfect fit for him. And ever since that move, it hasn't been a perfect fit. And I feel bad for Mario because he was stuck in a situation where he definitely was your starter, but you knew he wasn't playing to the best of his ability, but you can't put down the guy because, it was a weird situation. So we're bringing in a guy that will be your number one. We should have 2 and 3 already sold up. Hopefully my man comes back from the injury. We got Corey Brown. What's the guy's name?
Reese Poffenbarger, who came in.
Hopefully
he's just an add-on. We don't know LT.
What Williams was it? Williams? What was the guy's name?
Emory Williams.
Emory Williams.
Yeah, Emory with the arm. I call him with the arm.
Yeah.
So you got 2 backups.
Yeah. That's
what you need. You got to have that. We all see now. You got to have those 2 backups that are quality backups. Give Emory time to continue to heal. Corey's still here. So I feel good about the quarterback situation. I feel better about it than I felt last year because we were all nervous about, can the guy do it? We now see that Emory he could do it. We saw a guy, Corey, who is going to come into his own, I think, with a little bit more seasoning. He can do it, but he needs that seasoning. So he got this extra year where we bring in a guy, and hopefully, again, it's all about continuity. If they can come together and become a team and keep things perfect and have the little adversities here and there and grow from them, we might have something special.
Yeah, and look at last year, because Alex and I talked about it. You and I talked about it with Gary. The offensive line was the best line we've had in years.
Yeah.
There shouldn't have been any excuse for last year when you think about it. They were incredible.
2 years ago, it was god-awful. Last year was pretty good. And it gave, unfortunately, Van Dyke, we don't know what was going through his head, but he just could not go through the progressions. It was just too much on his plate. And, good luck to him. He's a good kid. Good luck to him. We wish him the best, nothing against him. But it's time to move on. And let's see what the $1 million guy can do, because there's a lot of pressure on these kids, especially in places like this when you come in and you're getting that type of money. And hopefully he'll be able to handle it, because we all know Miami's not for everybody. We've seen a high market quarterback come down here and just turn his back on his parents over an Instagram model. It's just, Miami's just not a place for everybody, dog. It can happen. It can happen.
There's a lot of Instagram models down here as well, but I want to continue the conversation on the other side with Lamar Thomas. Lamar knows Mario Cristobal very well. They played together. Is he bringing the U back? Is he taking the right steps in that direction? So, my friends, you want to keep it locked right here. Lamar Thomas is with us, the truth teller Bruce Warner, on a brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I know you're keeping it locked to eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into an MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Thank you so much for making this Truth Teller Tuesday of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. Guys, make sure you're checking out Locked On Sports today. Locked On Network has launched the first ever 24/7 streaming sports YouTube channel. 24 hours a day. National experts and local experts like myself are on Locked On Sports today, breaking down all of the biggest stories in sports. You got the Super Bowl coming up, talking about all the NIL and lawsuits against the NCAA. It's all over Locked On Sports today, streaming 24/7. Here we got Lamar Thomas and
Jackson.
Named after.
Hi.
Gee, what a shock. Lamar Jackson.
Oh, man.
Hi.
Hey, Jackson.
Can you do this yet?
He's working on it. We're working on it.
We're working. Oh, there you go. He got one hand up.
Wearing a Dolphins uniform.
Hey, he played for the Dolphins as well. That's okay for Lamar.
It's their own show.
Yeah, exactly. Well, true. He'll be going on a Dolphins show with a Canes jacket later on today, I'm sure. But Lamar, so you know Mario Cristobal very well.
Mm-hmm.
I look at what he's already done from a recruiting standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. He's got top 7 and top 5 classes consecutively, making key additions in the transfer portal. Like I'm looking at the type of recruiting we haven't seen at Miami in decades. As Bruce and I talk about every Tuesday, some of the on-field coaching, as we know, has to improve. But when we're talking about building a team, do you feel like Cristobal is taking the steps to bring the U back?
I do believe that Mario is taking the steps to bring us back to relevancy. I think for the longest time, we've had players, but not this type of magnitude. With this whole NIL thing, we can bring in some of the top players, and you have to be a roster manager. I think that's his. I think that's his thing. You know, recruiting and roster management. I think that's his thing. But at the same time, you have to make sure it goes back to what you said earlier, Alex. You got to have the coaches on the field doing what they're supposed to do too. It's a whole gamut of things that have to go right. You can recruit the best guys in America, but if they don't get along and they can't play together, then all you're gonna have is disgruntled fans. And you know that's where he is right now. So somehow we got to make sure that with all these great players that we're bringing in, that we can win ball games also. And that's what it boils down to.
And you need luck. And you need luck, Lamar. Look, how unlucky was he? Citizen. Now Fletcher.
Yeah.
Arroyo. Those are 3 big names that you just
Zion Nelson.
Yeah.
But they replaced him. But you just can't have all these injuries and then expect to win. It's been tough for him.
It's amazing. The first conversation I had with Mario when he came back, I said, "You're 3 or 4 years away." And he's like, and he looked at me, I said, "Mario, we won championships because of depth. And it's okay it's not okay today to have just 22 of the best players. You got to have more than that. You got to have depth." The unfortunate part for him is that this whole NIL thing can also hurt him, because you might get those top 22, but the guys, the 40 guys, they're going away because somebody else is saying, "We'll give you $35,000 to come here and be our starter," even though you're a third string guy at Miami and you're trying to build a team. Right. So it is basically, it's changed. I think these head coaches are now having to be or hire someone to be a GM inside the building, because it's no longer like it was before, where you got 3 to 4 years to develop these guys. They're not staying there for 3 to 4 years if they ain't playing.
Right.
Well, and we're seeing more GMs now. I mean, Miami has one with Alonzo Highsmith, and I've noticed other schools are hiring GMs, so they're following Miami's trend.
Yeah, it's like a junior pro league.
There you go. That's what it is.
But I believe that he's doing the right thing, and I know that because you told me, Leon told me that when he got there, he turned around and he said to some of you guys, "I can't believe what I'm seeing. These guys don't know how to work. I don't know what they were doing these last couple of years." And he had to reprogram the whole damn thing, which is different than just recruiting. The mindset was just not there.
It brought something that it just flashed up in my head when Miami plays Duke. I'm gonna love to see this handshake.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be an interesting handshake because Mario, he talked at length to the alumni about he just felt like things weren't done properly. So he has a chance to make it right. That's a great thing about this. He's gotten a lot of money and he has 10 years worth of 8 years now worth of contract. So there is time for him to hopefully get this done. But again, when you make these types of moves and the NIL thing, as positive as it could be for your program, you're just hoping it's not a negative also, because that can go south if you're not managing this team the correct way and keeping these guys together. Because just think about this. These guys have so much money now. We spent a lot of time together because we all were broke. So we went to people's houses like Bruce or, people all together. We did things together because one guy might have had a car. Think about it now. These guys are leaving the parking lot in their Teslas and their BMWs and their Mercedes, and they're going to their homes, their condos on Brickell, on the beach, on wherever, because they can afford it. We couldn't afford that. So I don't even know if these guys really truly hang out together like we did. We had a dorm also. So it's entirely different. And coaches, and what's crazy is you see all these college coaches are now getting out. They're saying the hell with this. They're going pro because can't handle it. It's become a different job now. Think about, I recruited a guy who turned out to be a really good football player, but there was no talk of money. Mm-hmm. Before you even get in the door now, it's talk of money.
Yep.
So it's just a different ball game now. And, for everybody, if Miami goes on to win this thing, obviously everybody's going to say, oh, they paid for a championship.
Yeah. Right. But you know what? I think that this was also discussed a million times. Mario, the great recruiter, it's negated somewhat by NIL because somebody could just pop up and say, here's another $50,000 that came from some alumni. And what Mario thought he had was a player who's committed. He's not committed anymore.
I've seen guys, I'm not going to mention their name. I've seen some kids go to places where they weren't even, the scheme wasn't even for them.
Right.
The scheme was, but the dollar signs were for them.
Yeah.
But the scheme, you're a 4-3 guy, but you're going to a 3-4 guy, and you can't play nose guard, and you definitely can't play ends, but you still go there for the money.
Yep.
That's where it's going now. It is unbelievable. I mean, it's unfortunate that this come to this, but, we've always talked about players being able to get money, but I blame the NCAA for not putting a cap on it in the beginning. 100%. They could have done something about it and said, okay, this is how much we should, if they would have just come off the pot and said, this is how much you can pay these guys. But now it's the Wild Wild West, and you got the highest bidder gets the best players.
Yeah, well, that's well said, and we'll end on that note. And huge thank you and appreciation for Bruce Warner and, of course, for Lamar Thomas for joining us. Lamar, thank you so much for taking the time, man. And even though you're not repping the Canes with the jacket, I appreciate you repping the Dolphins, and I know you're all Cane.
Listen, I'm always repping Canes, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Look at that ring. Was that 91 or 89?
That's 91. I don't like to wear 89. It was 11-1. I don't like that.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Well, there goes Daddy Daycare. Back to the job.
Back on service, baby. Thank you guys so much for having me today.
Hey,
and
give me a call in about 10 minutes, my friend.
Yes. And as always, like I always say, South Florida, enjoy your weekend and go Canes!
Go Canes.
We'll talk to everybody next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.